Good morning, everyone. We'll continue here in the words of the Chazon Ish, EMUNAH B'Tochen, speaking about Mussar and Halacha working together and knowing which one seems to supersede the other in certain circumstances. And he's telling us the case of the town which had Melamdei Tinoikos, had rabbeim that were teaching children, and it looked like everything was going along fine until some new rabbeim and teachers moved into town. And people started clamoring for the new teachers. Everybody wants something new, a change. And the old teachers were offended and they got hurt. And they began to wage a battle against the new teachers, in which they felt that they were entitled to do because you're stepping on our toes. However, says the Chazon Ish, Hinei kol ma'aseim hayu menukim mikol ched va'avon. All of the original teachers' activities would have been free from sin and any transgression. If only the halacha would be like them. That the halacha would be that you're actually allowed to prevent newcomers from engaging in their trade, in their teaching. And then we'd have to say that the new rabbeim that moved into town, they were major sinners. They're going against the halacha that Moshe Rabbeinu taught at Har Sinai. If that would be the case, that the second ones were guilty as charged, then the first ones, they would have no prohibition of making a machlekes, making a dispute over here, nor would they transgress lashon hara with gossip and evil speech and sensuous hatred. Really, it would be a battle of a mitzvah over here that they would have to take up to make sure that the law of the Torah was upheld in the proper way. That's what would be if they were in the right. However, but now, the halacha determines that we have a concept, and that is that the jealousy amongst Torah scholars, it increases wisdom. So the fact that new chachamim, new scholars come into town, it adds chachma, it adds wisdom to the teaching, and to the community, and to the schools, and to the kids. And this principle of increasing wisdom, it supersedes the livelihood of individuals, and therefore it allows the new teachers to come in and teach, even at the expense of the old ones. That means that the new guests that have arrived in this town, they're acting according to the halacha. And now the older rabbeim that have been there for a while, that stand up against them to oppose them, shoivchim dam nikiyim, they're spilling innocent blood. And when they hate them in their hearts, they transgress the prohibition of you're not allowed to hate your brother in your heart. And when they speak evil about them, they're transgressing the prohibition of lashon hara. And when they gather groups of people to quarrel and to argue with them, they're now transgressing the prohibition of not being like Korach and his Eidah and his cronies who started machlekes, who started arguing and fighting with Moshe Rabbeinu. And now when they take revenge by refraining to do good for them, they're now over on the transgression of you're not allowed to take revenge. So here you have a story, says the Chazon Ish, where on the surface it looks like perhaps the older rebbeim are entitled to do what they do to defend their livelihood. How could somebody come along and take it away from them? It comes out, says the Chazon Ish, that according to Halacha, it's the exact opposite. Really, they're entitled. They're even encouraged to come into town. And therefore, the original rebbeim that lived in that town, everything that they do right now to prevent the new ones from taking over, they're transgressing one prohibition after the other. In the Gemara Bava Basra over there says, Umayde Rav Huna b'makre dardiki d'leimatzi ma'akev. Rav Huna agrees that when it comes to those that are teaching children Torah, no one is allowed to prevent the competitors. Nechlala ba'alacha zu harbe halachas musariyos. Included in this halacha is many moral rulings as well. Asher tipageshna mitoitzas halacha, that result from the halacha itself, which means all of these ways of proper midas and mussar and the like, they all are neveah, they are born out of, and they result from the halacha that says you're allowed to do such a thing. Writes the Chazon Ish, how important it is to understand halacha, to make sure that your feelings, your emotions, and what you might think is the proper mussar approach to something is not met by the opposition of halacha, which is the Torah Misinai. All the best.